Rise and crime, everybody. I'm Rachel Souza.
And I'm Michelle Chan.
And welcome back to week...
8? No,
No,
9.
9. Are we sure? Are we on 10? Did we hit the double digits?
No, it's 9. It's 9.
Okay, we're at 9. Hello again, week 9. Here we are.
Once again.
Yes, back at you again with the podcast. Oh, now we're finishing each other's words. It's getting to that point. We have not recorded in a while. Not since Victoria Day. Ooh.
With all the fireworks.
Oh, yes.
No, we did one where you had to go to work immediately afterwards.
That was not good. I was late to work that day, as per usual.
Fun.
So we apologize if it's more echoey. We're not in our usual spot. We're now in a different city.
Yeah.
And that's all. Okay, let's hit me with that short case.
Okay, so pretty short. Not that funny. Kind of funny. Maybe. We'll see. Anyways.
You be the judge of that.
October 9th, 2018, around 6:30 p.m. in Hamilton.
Not Hamilton again. It's not that same list.
It's not the same list.
Oh, not the list of Hamilton crimes.
There's just a lot of funny crimes in Hamilton, apparently.
Oh, goodness.
A 23-year-old woman was driving home from work. She noticed someone tailgating her. So she pulls over to let the vehicle pass her. But the man driving the car purposely side sweeps her three times. You know, like she's changing lanes and he just keeps following.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me. I always look at those things when I'm driving. I'm like, is this person tailgating me or am I crazy?
No, I do that all the time. I'm like, are they following me? And then I do this turn.
I literally have driven around my neighborhood so many times just because I thought cars were following me.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Allie, we did that the other day.
Really?
We thought somebody was following us home, so we made a turn before her house. Here's our tip of the day. If you think someone's following you and you're going home, make some crazy turns to make sure, so that way you don't lead them right to your home.
Yeah. And eventually, he just rear ends her into a ditch.
So he literally drives her off the road.
Yeah. So then she calls 911 to report the accident. And then she sees the man in the car get out with like a hammer type weapon and start to bash in her windshield to get to her.
What in the world would you do in that situation? What do you do?
Don't know. It's so scary. Holy
That's
shit.
Terrifying. Oh my gosh, you're literally just sitting there waiting for your death.
And he's just swearing at her and threatening to kill her.
Oh my gosh.
And then the police arrive then and there, and they see that happening, and then they're like yelling at the man to stand down or whatever. But the man refuses to listen to the police and starts threatening the police.
Okay. You're like asking for it.
Yeah, he challenges them to a fight.
Hey, that's illegal. No duels.
But then he was tasered to the ground, and the police later confirmed that he was drunk while he was driving, and that was just from terrible road rage.
But, like, what did she do to even deserve road rage in the beginning?
I don't know.
I
don't know, but he was 65 years old, and he faces 6 charges in dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, uttering death threats, mischief under $5,000, assault with a weapon, impaired operation of a motor vehicle, and operation of a motor vehicle exceeding 80 milligrams of blood alcohol.
And he's 65.
And he's a senior.
Wow. Why are we giving them discounts when they're doing this?
Imagine just like imagine like Santa Claus.
Oh my gosh. running somebody else's sleigh off the sky. Okay.
Rude.
I have 2 stories based on that story that just came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell them because we did a poll on Instagram to see if you liked if we ramble, and you said yes. So this is your asking for this. Anyway, so the other day I experienced some road rage. Not me, like I experienced somebody else's road rage.
Mm-hmm.
I was driving down this road and the left lane like ended. Or no, the left lane turned into a turning lane, but I didn't realize that because I hadn't driven in this area before. In front of the left lane, there was like one of those like middle parts. It's just like dividing the 2 roads, but it's not like above the road. It's like the road, but there's like lines. I'm really describing this poorly. There was a place I could drive past the turning lane where I could signal into the right lane to keep going straight. So I decided to do that. I just like passed the turning lane. I stopped in the middle, not blocking any traffic, any cars. I started signaling to go into the other lane, waiting for cars to go by for it to be clear. And this lady driving a Kia Soul, I guess she wasn't really paying attention. She thought I was going to like cut her off or something. So she slams on her brakes and she starts honking at me like crazy. And I was like, lady, it's fine. I'm not blocking you. You can pass me. So she passes me. She rolls down her window. She gives me the finger and she yells, fuck you. Like, she's just like screaming at me with her 16-year-old daughter. Well, she looked 16 in the passenger seat and driving her Kia Soul. So then I was like, okay, that was just unnecessary. So then the car behind her like felt bad for me because he saw that it was unnecessary. So he like let me in. I pull in behind her, and what's the bumper sticker on her car? It wasn't even a bumper sticker. It literally took up the entire back of her Kia Soul, just in big letters, Daddy's Little Monster.
Oh,
I was
no.
like,
Ew.
on your Kia Soul? Really?
Lady. That reminds me of when you got yelled at by that Toronto lady. The old lady. You were driving behind her, and then the car in front of you honked at the old lady.
Oh my gosh.
I had to tell you your story.
Yes, you tell the story. You were there.
No, I wasn't. You just told me after it happened.
I thought you were there. Okay, I remember this now. I was thinking of another time. So basically, I was driving downtown, and this car stopped in like a place where they should not stop. It was literally like on Yonge and Dundas. Like, you're not supposed to stop there. It's like one of the busiest intersections in Toronto. And let out like some old lady out of the car, and the car behind me honked at that car for stopping, which like they should have because they shouldn't stop. But the old lady thought I honked, so she came up to my window, tapped on it, and just started screaming at me. She was like, "You little bitch, you're going nowhere in life. You look like a slut." Like, she was just yelling like profanities at me. And in my fit of rage, I don't want to tell this. I don't.
Okay, you don't have to, but it's pretty funny.
I was so angry. I yelled, "You're gonna die soon, so get out of here." Not my proudest moment. She was like really old. She told me I looked like a slut. It's fine. Do you know what? Not my proudest moment.
So
I think that was like,
funny.
what, last year? Not my proudest moment.
Was it even? Okay.
Let it be last year.
Okay.
So I told an old lady she was going to die soon. That is actually the worst thing I think I've ever done. But
that's the funniest thing. When you told me later that day, that was so funny.
I feel so bad now. I'm sorry, lady.
Nah, she was rude.
But I feel bad.
But she told you to kill yourself.
She did. Oh, that was the other thing. She was like, "Go kill yourself. You look like a slut." I remember this. That was not a good time. I was like, "You're gonna die first, so." That was a rough day. My other story was not this one. It was the fact that you can go on the York Region website and see people who have driven under the influence. Like, you can go into media releases and you can look up names of people who got caught for driving either on drugs or on alcohol. And I've seen people I know on the list, so it's like really like
Tea.
It is tea. It is. Enough of that. We're already 10 minutes in, and this is the longest case ever. So I will start. We're doing the case of Alicia Ross. Alicia Ross was born February 8th, 1980 in Markham, Ontario. Well, she was specifically in like Thornhill area, which is a part of Markham, but she lived in Thornhill. She was adopted right after birth by her parents, Sharon and Marvin Ross. And when she was 3, her little brother was born. His name was Jamie, and they were like best friends all throughout their lives. Like, so close. They would do everything together. They had a bond like that no siblings had, and everybody said that they were inseparable. When she was 11, her parents actually got divorced, and they both got remarried, which gave Alicia a total of 7 siblings.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But it brought her even closer to Jamie because he was her only sibling that she had like grown up with, you know? And they were both coming from broken homes, so it brought them even closer together than they already were. All through her childhood, she was passionate about the arts. She loved canoeing and camping. She became, in her teens, she was like a camp counselor person, but she would like take kids on canoe trips. And so she was so passionate about the arts, she went to an arts high school called Baythorn. It's like the Thornhill version of Unionville. If you're from Markham, you'll understand this. If you're not, it's just an art school. They do arts. She was a writer. She did lots of writing. She had a solid friend group, and she started dating a boy named Greg. Then after high school, she moved to Montreal for university. She went to Concordia, and she was studying geography, which is interesting because she went to an arts high school, but she also would travel all around to canoe. She went to Australia, she went to the Amazon, so geography was kind of also her thing.
Did she go to the art school for an art or just for regular school?
For writing, I think it was.
Writing is an art?
Yeah. Like poetry and like
Oh, I don't
creative
know.
writing and
I
stuff.
just thought that art schools were gonna be like visual art, dance.
Well, that's because we're used
music.
to what Unionville offers. Like Baythorn's like a art school all around. Like they don't have a non-arts part.
Yes.
She was a writer. That's all I found. She wrote poetry.
Okay.
I read some of it. It was really good. She went to Concordia and she like grew up a lot there and faced a lot of heartbreak. So her dad, her biological father Marvin, actually took his own life.
Oh.
Which is really, really sad. And her high school boyfriend Greg, who they were still dating, he actually got killed in a motor accident.
No.
So she was going through both of those things relatively close together.
That's so sad.
So sad. So she developed depression and she was suffering a lot. So after she finished her degree, she decided to just like escape. So she went to Australia for a year and just lived there. And her mom said that she like matured so much from that, and she did a lot of healing while she was in Australia, but still was obviously suffering. Like,
yeah,
those are two of the worst things that could ever happen.
Yeah, that's
and
awful.
She was facing them in like relatively the same time. Also, while she was not near those people either, because she was in Montreal. So like, that's sad. So she was known to be a gifted writer. And she was a beautiful, strong woman who could do anything she set her mind to. This is all in her mom's writing about her. It was very nice. I read a lot of it. So fast forward to 2005, which is when things went down. So she was 25 at the time. On August 16th, 2005, she went on a walk with her mom. They walked their dogs in the park. And then she returned home, and her new boyfriend, Sean Hine, he was 29, so 4 years older than her, came over just to hang out with her, as couples do. They do that, I swear.
Really?
Yep, they do. So they just hung out. Her mom came down, got a purse from her. Her and Sean hung out till just after midnight, and then he left. She walked him to his car, and then he drove home. And when he was driving home, he called her. And he was like, he just wanted to say, like, goodnight again. You know, couple stuff. Aw, adorable.
Cute.
So, yeah, he wanted to say goodnight again, so he called her, but she didn't pick up her phone. So he just assumed she fell asleep. But he didn't call her, like, really long after leaving, so he was like, damn, she went to sleep quick. Like, he was kind of like, that's weird. And the next morning, he called her again to be like, good morning, because what a good boyfriend. And she didn't answer again. And he was like, what the heck is going on? So he called her 2 more times, and she didn't answer any of them, and she hadn't texted him at all. So he was kind of like, this is a little weird. Like, usually she's kind of active on her phone. This is unusual for her. So, like a good boyfriend does, this guy, he's great. He drove to her house to make sure everything was okay. So he drove over to her home, and he noticed her car was still in the driveway. So he's like, oh, she's home. Like, everything's good. So he went and knocked on the door, and nobody answered.
Okay.
So he's kind of like, what is going on? Her car is here. She should be home. And so then he decided to call. She worked at Hewlett Packard. So he decided to call Hewlett Packard and be like, hey, is Alicia there? I want to talk to her. And they were like, she actually hasn't come into work and she didn't call in sick. So then he starts freaking out and he calls 911 right then and there.
Good.
So this is only 9 hours after he had last seen her. And he was the last person to see her as well. He called 911 to report her missing, but he hadn't even called her parents yet.
Oh, okay.
So he calls them after and they rush home from their workplaces. And they find police already searching the home and flooded the streets and everything. And they were like freaking out, obviously. Imagine coming home to that.
That's awful.
I know. And she was nowhere to be found. What made it even more concerning is when they went in the house, they found her phone, her wallet, her keys, and her bed was not slept in from the night before.
Oh no, that's so scary.
She had never even gone to bed. So obviously they're freaking out.
It's good that he was so attentive.
That's great. 9 hours? And
yeah,
she got reported for 9 hours. That's a good amount of time. Like, you'd think, like, oh, we can find her. So they didn't immediately suspect, like, foul play. They just thought maybe she was off somewhere. Like, they were trying to keep calm, as anybody does in that situation. They found a cigarette from the night before in the backyard. So she was a smoker, so they found like one from the night before. Sean, her boyfriend, had not like gone out and smoked with her, so it would have to be from after he left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were just looking for her. So there was everyone was in a panic. There was a huge search party. They got over 200 volunteers. They brought in helicopters. They brought in K9 units. They were trying to find her everywhere. So her house backed onto a ravine. So they were like searching the ravine like crazy. And she also lived close to the 407 highway. It's a like express route through Markham and like further. And there's like a ton of forest on each side and ravines and stuff. So they searched all of that, like trying to find her, and they couldn't find anything. There was literally not a single trace of her.
So it's within 9 hours.
Within 9 hours, there was not a single trace.
That's crazy.
I know, right? Like,
and they did everything they could.
Everything. They brought in dogs and everything.
Yeah, they didn't even do that thing where they're like, oh, wait a couple more hours.
Yeah, like the police through this case, I'm so impressed with York Regional Police. They did such a good job. They did everything they really could. So unfortunately, 3 days after she went missing, the second biggest storm to ever hit the GTA hit, and there was $500 million of damage across the GTA from this rainstorm. So they were like, shoot, any evidence that there is no longer. Yeah. So they were kind of upset about that, obviously. But they continued to search. They set up a command center at a nearby school. They even set up an entire toll line for people to call if they had any information. They were doing literally anything they could. So a week after she's been missing, they decided to start looking into a foul play scenario. So they started doing forensic testing on her car and just like the areas around, but literally nothing came back from any of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then they started to look for suspects. So on the same day that they began to look for suspects, her boyfriend, Sean Hine, was arrested on a DUI. Oh. So he was driving under the influence.
Okay.
So then the media was like, wait a second. This guy was the last person to see her. He reported her missing after only not seeing her for 9 hours. And he didn't even call her parents yet. Like, why have we not looked at this guy yet? The media starts like reporting he's being kind of sketchy. In an interview, he accidentally said, I loved her instead of I love her, because she was like just missing. So why would he say that in the past tense? So people were like, ruh-roh, we need to look at Sean. So Sean was trying to prove that he did not like kill her or take her or anything. Submitted to the media like this Bible. He had written that she was the one for him and that she was his true love. And he told everyone that he was planning on proposing to her the following year. But they had only been dating for 6 weeks at this point.
Ooh.
So now everyone's like, wait, is he obsessed with her?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I kind of thought that in the beginning, because it's like, call after you leave and call in the morning, and then continuously keep calling and then show up at her house.
He would also call Sharon, her mom, and ask her how she was doing and tell her how much he missed Alicia. The media also was starting to report that he wasn't being cooperative with police. He refused a polygraph, and he apparently wasn't being too helpful in the search because his grief was taking over. So her mom was not too happy about this. She was like, you need to put your grief aside to help us. And he was just like, I'm sorry, I'm just so sad. Like, I miss her so much. Like, she was the love of my life, everything like that. Mm-hmm. So police began to question Sean's neighbors and ask if they saw anything or if they saw him take out any unusual garbage on garbage day. And all of them said, nope, we've seen nothing. He seems fine. He's just sad. And they also searched where his cottage was just to see if there was anything there. And they found absolutely nothing. So a month had gone by and there was still like no leads at all. And the case was dropping out of the media and things just seemed to be going nowhere. And Sharon put out one last plea to the media being like, please return my daughter. Please, I love her. Bring her back. So this is now September 20th. 5 weeks after her disappearance, her next-door neighbor, Daniel Sylvester, walks into the YRP headquarters and confesses to accidentally killing Alicia Ross.
The neighbor?
Her next-door neighbor, Daniel Sylvester.
What?
Her 31-year-old next-door neighbor, Daniel Sylvester.
Okay.
So he was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. And the media put out all these things apologizing to Sean for making him look like a victim, when in fact he was just grieving.
Oh, okay.
Didn't you even think it was him?
Yeah.
When I first read it, I also thought it was him.
I feel bad.
I felt so bad after.
I mean, okay, yeah, but like 6 weeks, man. That's a lot.
He just like really loved her.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it was either obsession or true love.
It was true love. I feel so sad for this guy.
Oh, no. Why'd he refuse the polygraph?
Because he knew that if, like, you know how polygraphs aren't always the most truthful?
That's
and if he's
true.
grieving and it fails, he's not going to look good.
He might
I think that was a good move on his part.
I guess, yeah. But he made, all these things that led up to that made him seem so sketchy.
I know, right? But also, those were the only things that were being reported because the media was like, oh, it's this guy. Like, we're going to make it seem like it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so.
Also, this poor girl's dead.
Yeah.
Her next door neighbor. So he was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. But like he said, it was an accident. Or he claimed it was an accident.
How do you accidentally do that?
I know. I'll tell you how he accidentally killed her in a second. So one thing I just wanted to add that's like super, super, super sad is that, so her family was Jewish. And because in Judaism, they have a tradition where when someone dies, you have to bury them within 24 hours of their death. But because she was missing and dead for so long, they didn't get to carry out this custom, and it just, like, totally upset everyone in the family.
Oh.
I know, and that's just so incredibly sad. Obviously, everyone was heartbroken to hear this. They all really thought that she was alive, and it was just the worst news ever, and nobody knew right away why he did it. The next neighbor, Daniel. So Daniel was reported to be just, like, a homebody. He never went out. He would never socialize. He had no friends. He lived in his parents' basement. He dropped out of high school. When he left the house, the only thing he would do is he would drive around at night.
What? Okay.
That's all he would do.
That's so weird.
He wouldn't interact with anyone.
So he had no friends. He lived in his parents' basement. He was 31. He had no job.
Yes.
And he would just drive around at night.
Yes.
That's the only activity that he does.
Yes.
Okay.
He had no job. His parents were literally just paying for him.
Sounds like a winner.
Oh, yeah. Guy of everyone's dreams.
Ladies.
Daniel Sylvester, everybody. And now he's also a murderer.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Well, have you seen that Cody Co video where he's criticizing those, like, Christian girls?
Yes.
Mr. Struggle.
The girl defined. Mr. Struggle.
He's a Mr. Struggle.
He's a Mr. Everything. He's a Mr. against every 10 of the commandments. He admitted to killing her, but they said that he had no intent. So they wanted him to get charged with manslaughter instead of second-degree murder. So that's a way lesser charge, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So in court, he explained how everything happened, and here's his story. He said, Alicia was in the backyard smoking a cigarette, which is proven by the fact that her cigarette is still there. And he was outside in the alleyway between their two houses, because they were next door neighbors, and that he was just there, and she said, "What the fuck are you doing here, loser?" Is what he said that she said, but he didn't say that he did anything to provoke or anything like that. He just said that she had said that to him, and he had gone through so much bullying in his life and being called a loser that the word loser triggered him, and he attacked her, slapped her in the face, bashed her head against the ground, and put his knee into her sternum with all of his force.
Oh my god.
That was what he said he did.
Yes, that's an accident, clearly.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest accident I've ever heard.
I accidentally strangled her. My bad.
She called me a loser and suddenly I was accident prone.
It was a reaction.
It was my body, not my brain.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so then after that, she was unconscious or dead. He wasn't sure. So he dragged her into his garage and she was bleeding from the head. And he said her clothes were torn. So he just decided, this is so disgusting. He said, I had to remove her torn clothes because if I kept them on and they were torn, it would look like I had raped her. And I didn't rape her, so I just took them off.
What?
Is that not the dumbest thing you've ever heard in your entire life?
Oh my god. Who is this man? I mean, he dropped out of high school. He can't have been that smart.
Literally. So he wraps her body in a blanket, puts her into the trunk of his parents' car, drives her to the Kawartha Lakes, so like cottage country, and disposes of her body there, and then goes back and cleans up all the blood and everything.
Okay, if this was manslaughter, he wouldn't have done those things. He wouldn't cover it up.
He claimed at one point he contemplated calling 911, but he was too scared of the consequences.
Okay.
What a freaking loser. I'm calling you a loser. Are you triggered? Are you listening to this? You're a loser. Yeah, that's right.
Then why'd he confess?
He said the guilt got to him and he couldn't live with what he had done any longer.
Ugh. Alright.
Disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
He would frequently go back and check on the body to make sure it was still there. And at one point, he was so scared that they were going to find it, he actually packed it up and moved it to another place in cottage country.
This doesn't sound like manslaughter to me.
No, it doesn't. So he brought the police to where the body was, and it was there, but there was basically nothing left because it had been 5 weeks. And
he conveniently waited until all the evidence
was gone, right?
Wash away.
But they still had her bones, so they actually discovered his story was just totally false. Because from just what was left, they could tell that he did not slap her in the face, he punched her in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more damage than he had said because she had 32 fractures.
In her face?
No, on her body.
Oh, okay.
They said most of them were on her ribs, and they said just putting his knee into her sternum couldn't have done it. It would have to be bashing her ribs.
Jesus.
And her breastplate was broken in half.
Oh my God.
Like this
poor girl.
This poor girl had suffered so much in her life. She had so much going for her. She had just got a new job. She had a new boyfriend who clearly loved her so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then this happens.
And then this loser had to take it.
Loser. I hope he's listening to this and is getting so triggered.
Biggest loser.
So obviously the courts were like, yeah, he's a loser, and convicts him of second-degree murder. The jury only deliberated for 3 hours and 45 minutes. Like,
why was it second degree and not first degree?
Because it wasn't premeditated.
Oh, true. I guess loser did trigger it.
It was the trigger, but he definitely did more. But, okay, so here's more on it. He actually had a pair of night vision goggles.
Okay, as one does.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And so they figured out that he was a peeping Tom. So when he drove around at night with his night vision goggles, and Sean, Alicia's boyfriend, actually testified saying that he had thought that he'd probably watched them have sex before.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting.
What would you do if that was your son?
And these parents are just letting this happen, letting him live in their basement with no job, nothing going for him. What a loser!
Absolutely not.
Here's what actually sucks. What really, really sucks. So he was convicted of second-degree murder, so that's 25 years. Mm-hmm. But he's actually eligible for parole after 16 years. 16 years is in 2021. So that's 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. He could get out 2 years from now. He could be back on the streets of Markham, where we live.
That's scary.
That's absolutely terrifying. And if he gets denied parole, which he should, and I think he will, but everybody's saying, all the news sources are saying, because he has no criminal history whatsoever, he actually could get parole.
Okay, that's very scary.
Terrifying. But even if he doesn't get parole, he's going to get out when he's 58. And he can still do a lot of damage at 58.
Yeah, that 65-year-old did a lot of damage.
There we go. Oh my gosh, connections. Seniors are
dangerous. Beware. Everyone's dangerous. Just don't trust anyone ever.
Just respect your elders, please.
I mean, the girl didn't do anything.
I know. So when he's 58, he will be back on the streets of Markham.
In his parents' basement? Or his parents dead?
I don't know. I didn't look too far into him. He's a loser. So Sean, her boyfriend, moved to Florida to start a new life because he was still being harassed for not taking too much part in the search. So he actually just fled, which is sad. I feel so poorly for her family. Poorly? That's not what I meant. I feel so bad for her family. And I just feel so bad for her. She went through so much. She had so much going for her.
Yeah.
Wow. How do we transition out of this?
That's
know. The story of Alicia Ross. Oh, I know how to transition out of this. Her family set up a lot of different charities and scholarship funds in her name.
Oh.
So if you go to aliciaross.ca, you can actually go donate, and you can just read her story. Her mom and her siblings and her best friends, all their eulogies are up on her website. Aww. They're really, really beautiful. I would definitely go read them. I read all of them, and they're heartbreaking. So beautiful. Some of her poetry is up there. She wrote a poem for her late boyfriend Greg, and it's really beautiful. And her whole story is up there. So her story, her mom's version of the story, everything's up there. There's like a nice message board on there as well where people leave their thoughts and prayers. And it's just, it's really sad.
But good on the police for doing everything that they can.
Yeah, I'm proud of the York Region Police.
That was good.
Good job, everybody. I'm not proud of the media for picking a suspect and being like, oh, it's him. Let's make sure everything seems like it's
They
him.
do that all the time, though.
And that's so bad.
It is bad.
Fake news is not good.
Yeah, it's like anything he does is just confirmation bias.
And they would look into every sentence he said, like how he said loved instead of love. Like,
the media shouldn't have an opinion. They should just
report facts.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people during the time when this was happening, they thought it was Sean, but then also the police kept being like, they wouldn't comment on the fact that he was uncooperative or anything. They just said, oh yeah, he refused a polygraph, but that doesn't mean he's being uncooperative. Like, they wouldn't say that. It was just literally the media saying that. Poor Sean, poor that entire family, poor Alicia. That's a bad one. Should we do our highs and lows of the week to transition out of this?
Sure.
Okay, what's your low of the week?
Nothing too bad has happened.
That's good.
Yeah. What
That's
about
good.
you?
My low of the week? Probably not getting enough work shifts because I need money. Spending too much money on stuff for Bonnaroo. I'm going to Bonnaroo next week.
Is that your high?
No, my high stuff already happened. I can't have a high in the future. What's your high this week? Your interview?
Oh yeah, I got an interview. That's fun.
This girl's going places. Everybody. She's one to watch. My high of this week is... Oh, my high of the week is I ordered a bunch of stuff online and it all came in one day.
That's so fun.
Oh, it was so nice. Getting packages.
I love ordering stuff online. It's like a gift to yourself from your past self.
I've never ordered clothes online before. This was my first time ever.
Really?
So getting it was like Christmas.
It's fantastic.
And they all came in one day. I was like, oh, this is what I needed.
Amazon Prime, the best thing ever.
I wouldn't know.
It literally comes the next day.
Really?
Yes, you order it and it comes within 24 hours.
That's crazy. How did they do that?
I don't know.
Amazon, you're scary. Jeff Bezos, stop listening to me. Stop.
Isn't he the richest man in the world?
I have no idea.
So remember, seniors are still licensed to kill.
And if your boyfriend of 6 weeks is writing that he loves you in his Bible, keep him around. Peace out.
Bye.